man.
Good. So I don't know if you heard me talking about the whole situation. I'm with the player. But I don't think Anthony should have touched him. Let's not get that twisted. He should have never touched the fan. Okay, you're allowed to speak your mind, get after it. But at the same time, he's saying he needs to get on a mic and say how he feels. I didn't say apologize or talk about the whole situation. I feel like he might not have to do it, but at the same time, listen, it's a big instance that's happened. There's got to be some repercussion. I get it. But the fan's definitely in the fault, too. He's right in your face talking smack. We don't know what happened. So explain. I would love to hear your comment about the whole thing.
Couple things. He doesn't have to say anything, Todd. You're absolutely right. But as Scott just pointed out, the way Bohm handled that situation, it diffused it immediately and it turned it around immediately. Now, the difference with Rendon right now is that this matter is under investigation by Major League Baseball, and it is his position, it is the team's position that they're not going to comment while the investigation is ongoing. This is rather common in situations like this. They clam up for the moment and wait until this whole thing is resolved. But once it is resolved, yes, he's probably going to have to comment, and he's probably going to have to apologize because people want to hear it. Now, to the other side of this, and Scott touched on this as well, and you did too, Todd. Fan conduct can be over the top, to say the least. And I've heard things, I've seen things, it's ugly at times. And yet, it's the player's responsibility, and it's part of the deal, unfortunately, for being who you guys are, that to a degree you have to take it. Now, if it's physical, obviously a different story. But this wasn't physical from what we know, from what we can see. This was a guy calling Rendon a name and Rendon taking a swipe at him, and it shouldn't happen. So I'm not down with what Anthony did. I don't think it's excusable. But at the same time, the fan abuse can be an issue, and I've heard players speak about it many times throughout the years, all kinds of players, and in all kinds of situations. That needs to stop, but at the same time, a player cannot physically strike back. That just cannot happen.
Have you ever had a situation yourself? Now we know all about your internet trolling, where you got into it a little bit, but like you're right on the field. You're actually closer to the fans than the players are. Have you ever had a situation like this?
Not at a ballpark, but certainly on Twitter, I've gotten threats at times. I'm not going to go into specifics. And at one point, I had to tell Fox, and they had to give me security at a specific ballpark. So things do happen. And I always find, guys, it's obviously different from me, but people are nicer in public and when I meet them than they are obviously on Twitter. I guess most players experience that too. You have the occasional knucklehead who might say something and come at you, but they're sitting behind the screen or whatever, and they're protected from any ramifications. So I don't generally get into it with people at the park. If they do say something, it's pretty rare when that happens, but I've certainly had my share on Twitter pretty much every day.
Do you think that the league should step in? Because this is a preventative thing, and maybe it's not something that can be done that easily. But see, that's news to me, is that there's that much proximity with fans and players that even when they're going in and out of the tunnel there, they are right along with a whole section of fans. To me, in today's world, that is asking for trouble. And to me, that's something that the league office should be able to say, hey, Oakland, I know your stadium sucks and you might not be there for long. That needs to be fixed, or you can't sell those seats because it's a safety issue.
In Oakland, it's definitely that way. And the guys can speak to this. Eric and Todd, they know the ballparks better than anyone. In some ballparks, you can get fairly close. And that proximity does exist. But that is the responsibility of ballpark security to ensure that if such a situation like that occurs, Scott, that person gets ejected and not allowed in the ballpark for a set amount of time, whatever the rules might be. That's what ballpark security exists for. Now, in this situation, the game is over. I don't know what's going on there and where the security guards are, if anywhere. But if that's going to be the case, if the fans can hang over like that, and you guys know this, they can do that in Oakland as you're walking off the field, well, you have to take extra measures.